that if you don't do what he wants you to do, then he gonna put your ass in the corner and he gonna make you stay there until he get finished with you. But nothing like this. Miss Betty Lavette, when I tell you she is giving all the teas to all the ninjas. Well, hello there, lovebirds. Hello there, Bellas. If you have not already done so, please remember to like, share the Facebook, subscribe, and visit uptopbeauty.com for these JT RZA shades. Now, keep in mind, I am back in the DMV temporarily, so your order will not be sent out until I want to say the first week in August. Okay. Uh, I do apologize for that, but I still got to make my money while I'm out of town. So please show me mercy and give me grace in regards to shipping. Got these, and of course, the black and the brown. And if you are not already a part of this book club, please hit the Patreon link below and or the join button here on the YouTube. And for a small monthly fee of $5, you babies, yes, yo, can be privy to all the shenanigans before the YouTube gets it, if the YouTube gets it. Now, child, let's continue to talk about Missy Ma'am, favorite place to work back home. I love this park. I do. I find so much solace in this park. But let's continue talking about Miss Betty Lavette. A woman like me. When he grabbed me and hung me over the edge of the building, that's when I wiggled my way out of the perilous moment by calling his bluff. That's when he let me go. And taking no chances, that's when I ran out, leaving all of my worldly possessions with him. I was on the streets, a shoeless 20-year-old, broke and scared to death. You know, remember this, Betty Lavette is very young in these situations, so I don't really have a lot of judgment towards her, because for real, thinking about some of the shiz I done when I was in my 20s, the Jesus? There could be no doubt New York City had kicked my ass. Time to tuck my tail between my legs and crawl home. When Mama saw me walk through the door of our home on Trowbridge, she collapsed. She thought she had seen a ghost. Betty Joe, she finally found the strength to say, "You look like death warmed over." I was a raggedy mess. I had these thin little pants, a cheap cotton blouse, and a pair of worn out slippers. My hair was disheveled. At one point, I must have had 50 wigs. Now I had none. I knew I needed help. They say when a student is ready, the teacher will appear. Word. Well, that certainly was the case with me. But given my headstrong personality, I didn't think I was ready to learn. No matter how badly New York had beaten me up, I came home with my know-it-all attitude undiminished. Fortunately, the teacher knew how to handle me. He was hard-headed as I was. He taught me in spite of myself. He saved my professional life and prepared me for a future I was too short-sighted to see. He planted artistic seeds in my head and heart that took decades to flower. This was Jim Lewis, the Musicians Union man I'd met just before leaving for New York. "Thought you swore you weren't ever coming back," he said when he saw me at the Chit Chat Lounge. That was my intention. And what happened? New York was a little rough. A little rough? He asked suspiciously. Okay, it was a lot rough. So you came home to get that training you need? What kind of training are you talking about? Singing training. Now, let me tell you what was special about the dude, Jim Lewis. Jim Lewis tried to introduce Missy Ma'am to singers like Billie Holiday, other jazz greats, women who could use their voice as instruments. But you know, Betty Lavette is like, she didn't even understand what he was trying to do for her. He was trying to teach her things outside of what she already was. Man, you can never get so secure in your position that you think that you can't learn. Fortunately, I've been a person that always want to learn, always want to research, always want to check new things out because I didn't think I knew everything. Hell, I know I didn't know everything. That's why I've always read books. Okay, whether I was doing it to earn a degree, now to get paid, to learn something new. I just loved college because college is mostly all about research. Researching and knowing things truly grounds you. You know what I'm saying? And then when you get in an argument with somebody, or let's say a conversation with someone, and you want to argue your point, because one thing you do learn in college is your opinion don't mean shit unless you have facts to back it up. I learned that the hard way in school. I think I learned that my first or second year. Your opinion means sheesh unless you have facts to back it up. Returning home wasn't easy. Admitting defeat never is. Word. But if you're really a singer, you gotta sing. Your need to sing is greater than your pride. You sing whenever and wherever you can, and that's just what I did. Many of the Motown people didn't even know I'd been gone. They were absorbed in Berry Gordy's ever expanding empire. If I had had a smash in New York, they might have taken note. And while Let Me Down Easy made some noise, it was not enough to get the attention of my Detroit friends riding high with #1 pop hits. Of the Motown singers I was closest to, the two I considered the best, David Ruffin and Marvin Gaye. And because Marvin was aligned with Clarence Paul, I was with him often. Okay, now, I've never heard a description of Berry Gordy put this way. Now, we know that Berry the Gordy can be a hater. Okay, that's why his bed bug bites, right? But to hear her put it in a way that describes him as a alpha hater is something that I've never read. I've heard that if you don't do what he wants you to do, then he gonna put your ass in the corner and he gonna make you stay there until he get finished with you. But nothing like this. Miss Betty Lavette, when I tell you she is giving all the teas to all the ninjas, she goes in. Oh, that's the sweetest. Her grandson is walking with his grandmother. That is so sweet, y'all. Now she goes in to speak about Clarence Paul, that's her ninja. One day she's asking herself, Self, you've been with Clarence Paul for a while and you know how much of a genius he is. What the hell is happening here? He done formed and created Stevie Wonder's career. Why Berry Gordy isn't pushing him up the line? Why Clarence Paul isn't considered a diamond to Motown? Why isn't Berry Gordy using him in a way that could take Motown to another level? Okay. Of the Motown singers I was closest to, the two I considered the best, David Ruffin and Marvin Gaye. And because Marvin was aligned with Clarence Paul, I was with him often. While Marvin's marriage to Anna Gordy got him into the Gordy family, he was never happy with either his wife or his wife's brother, boss, Berry. The Marvin I knew was submissive and easily intimidated. Hold on, hold the on. Wait a minute, girl. So you say that Marvin Gaye and Clarence Paul were friends, but you was talking about trying to trick the Marby Poo, Clarence Paul's friend, into the bed? Girl, there's 1,000 ninjas out there on the Motown roster that you could have hunched, but come on, Miss Betty. Come on, girl. You could have hunched somebody else. You got the Eddie Kendricks. Okay. Later on, you got the Dennis Edwards. Okay. Who else on Motown super duper fine? Who else? Not the Stevie Wonder. Not him. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But anyway, I'm going to put that over there. Who else on the Motown roster was super duper fine? The Marvin I knew was submissive and easily intimidated. Anna pushed his career and got him into the recording studio when no one else could. But as everyone in Detroit knew, she was also involved with other men. She's saying that Marvin Gaye was intimidated, okay? Now, I've read before that Anna then turned Marvy Poo into a super freak. Because he was so intimidated by sex, I guess when Anna wanted to introduce toys to the bedroom, I'm just speculating, he was like, no, I don't want to do that, Anna. So Anna was like, okay, so because you don't want to do this, I'm going to go over here. And that messed up Marvy Poo's head. Now he got this little 17-year-old girl rolling around with him at the red light district, doing all kinds of crazy shit. So I guess it may be true that Anna Gordy Gay turned Marvy Poo out. Miss Betty Lavette, girl! Oh, she ain't scared of nobody. And she said she can't fight. She just got a mouth on her. Girl, be careful out here. Diane Ross played the Motown game with more skill than any girl up there. She slept her way up the Motown command, beginning with Smokey Berry's first lieutenant and best friend. Then she moved on to Brian Holland, 1/3 of the Holland-Dozier-Holland team that was writing and producing the Supremes' hits. Most of the female singers felt the same way about Diane as I did. We saw her as a stuck-up bitch with a small voice and big ambition. So it was with special delight that we witnessed her comeuppance. It happened at the 20 Grand, a sophisticated Detroit club where the Motowners met after hours. I was there with Martha Reeves. She and her Vandellas were riding high. At the adjoining table were Brian Holland and Diane Ross. At about 2 a.m., the mellow evening suddenly got messy when Brian's wife, Sharon, came storming in. Mrs. Holland was no shrinking violet. She pointed to Brian and screamed, "You get in the goddamn car." Brian jumped up and did as he was told. "And you," said Sharon, pointing to Diane, "I'm going to kick your scrawny ass." With amazement and delight, Martha and I watched. Sharon beat down Diane with such thoroughness, turning off her clothes with such ferocity, that America's supreme sweetheart was left standing in her slip, panties, and bra. So Mary Wilson and all you other people that told this same goddamn story, including the Florence Ballard, I want to know, why in the hell did you ninjas lie to us? Did you all get together at the end of the night and promise each other that y'all would never, ever, ever tell the real occurrences of this night? Mary Wilson has said that although Sharon was in Diane's face, Diane did not back down. Florence Ballard stood in between them two and basically was like, "You ain't finna do nothing. Nothing's going to happen to Diane. Yes, she gets on my nerves too, but I ain't finna let you beat her ass." Flo was the reason as to why Brian Holland's wife did not kick her ass. Betty Lavette is telling us that his wife did kick her ass. If I had been smarter, I would have modeled myself after Diane. Well, that makes Beyonce a goddamn genius. If I had been smarter, I would have modeled myself after Diane, who reached the summit by screwing Barry and having his baby. Instead, I chose Clarence Paul, a man with limited influence. Clarence's clique, which included his partner Morris Broadnax was on the outside looking in. The Paul Broadnax team had molded Stevie. They got him going. Together with Stevie, they wrote Until You Come Back to Me, That's What I'm Gonna Do, which became a hit for Aretha. But it was really Sylvia Moy and Hank Cosby. We know Hank Cosby ain't get treated with respect neither, because when Berry Gordy picked up and moved to Los Angeles, he looked at Hank Cosby and was like, "Is you coming or what? You taking too long. All right, stay here with the rest of the motherfuckers. I don't want to be bothered." But it was really Sylvia Moy and Hank Cosby who took Stevie into the stratosphere. Together with Stevie's own critical contribution, they were the main forces behind Uptight, Everything's All Right, I Was Made to Love Her, My Sharia Moore, and Signed, Sealed, Delivered, I'm Yours. The songs that turned Stevie into a superstar. Clarence, however, never moved up into the first tier. "I know you're crazy for Clarence Paul," said Jim Lewis when he called me for a date. He didn't hide the fact of his marriage, nor did he hide his desire to screw me. "Clarence and I are close," was all I said. "If you want to run with the Motown crowd, you picked the wrong horse. I can live without that crowd." But haven't you ever wondered, given how you can just about outsing anyone over there, why Barry has never approached you? That's just it. He doesn't want me to outsing his stars. "Don't be stupid," said Jim. "Barry's a businessman. The more successful the star he signs, the more money for him. No, it isn't that he doesn't know about your talent. It's that he doesn't like your man Clarence. He's blacklisted Clarence and anyone associated with him."